Today we're going to be scuba diving in one of the world's top 10 scuba diving spots.
This morning we are waking up at the awesome bunk down lodge right in the city center of Whangarei, and we are on the road super early because we are heading to the Tutukaka marina because today we are jumping in the water.
Yes, today we are going scuba diving at Poor Knights Island, which is probably the most famous scuba diving spot in the whole of New Zealand.
After filling up a little bit of paperwork, we are boarding the Bright Arrow, which is the boat of the Dive Tutukaka company, which is gonna be our tour guide today. We are heading on the water right away and we don't have time to rest. We are already getting our safety instructions because scuba diving, well, it's not our job, it's theirs. Sophie is giving us heaps of information about all the equipment we're gonna be using, including the BCD, which is this really big vest which help us control our buoyancy, basically, how much we're floating. And she's also telling us what we are expecting to see in the water, and apparently it's gonna be a ton of fishes. While on the way to our diving spot, we get the time to check out heaps of amazing islands. All those really rocky islands looks like they're straight out of another planet. I mean, you could have shot the latest Star Wars right here or something. It's quite awesome. And they are all inhabited, but not by actually aliens, by amazing seals.
Being the middle of winter, this is the perfect time to see New Zealand fur seals around the Poor Knights Island. And we're super surprised to actually be seeing seals this far up north in New Zealand, so it's an amazing addition to this tour. And speaking of amazing additions, we are super impressed by the scenery around the Poor Knights Islands. Even before we've actually got to the main event, which is scuba diving, we are amazed by all the huge arches that we can actually take the boat right through the middle of. And we learn more about this amazing geology around us from our guide who's telling us heaps about the area.
Basically diving in a flooded supervolcano, flooded by the Pacific Ocean.
Steve is definitely hyping up this dive that we are about to do. It just sounds absolutely amazing, but he also takes the time to recap all the safety instructions just to make sure that we are going to be behaving in a safe and proper manner with both the wildlife that we're going to be encountering as well as all the equipment that we're going to have. Then we are in the water already. As soon as we hit the water, our dive master is making sure that all the equipment is working properly and getting us underwater. Once we are arriving underwater, we are practicing a couple of dive skills just to make sure that we are comfortable enough in the water for the journey that we are about to embark in. And then we are getting down in the bottom of the ocean, checking out the amazing wildlife.
I can't believe how clear the water is. We've only just got in here and already we're seeing so many different kinds of fish. This first part of the dive is taking us through kelp forest, which is basically all this long seaweed that you can see around us. And in this kelp forest, there's so much wildlife to be seen. We're seeing so many different species of fish, which our dive master is actually going to tell us what we see after the tour, because obviously we can't really talk while we're diving. One of the most surprising fish, or at least the most funkiest looking fish, is this little scorpion fish, which is really camouflaged in the sand. Our guide really has to point it out to us, otherwise we would have just swam right past it. We're diving about 10 meters deep right now, which you don't really need to be a deep sea diver to see amazing stuff at the Poor Knights Islands. And our main focus of today is going towards something called the Blue Maomao Arch. However, the journey to get there itself is really awesome with so many different species of sea plants and fish. We are having an absolute blast.
The entrance to the Blue Maomao Arch is actually a tunnel itself. It's actually quite amazing to pass through a tunnel underwater. I personally never done that before. There is so many different colors on every single rock pan, but it's as soon as we arrive under the arches that we are mind blown. There is an incredible amount of fish surrounding us. Blue Maomaos are everywhere. They're actually staying around this area because it's well sheltered from all the swells and also other predators. So this is basically where they go for breeding and socializing, if fish are socializing. The sheer size of this school of fish takes our breath away, or maybe it's because we're underwater, but it's quite amazing the amount of fish that we get to see right here. It probably is about 100,000 of them. Plus, because they are not being fished in this area, they're not too scared of us, so we get to swim really up close to them. We get to pass right in the middle of the school without basically disturbing them at all. I feel like I just stepped onto a brand new world right here. All my senses are altered because, well, being underwater scuba diving is a very different and eerie experience already. Plus, being surrounded by so much life is absolutely mind-boggling. I just can't help but actually trying to make my way as close as I can to all those fish, swimming right in the middle of them and making, obviously, the most of this opportunity to take amazing pictures underwater.
We get to spend a long time here in the Blue Maomao Arch, so we definitely don't feel shortchanged. Basically, we dive for as long as our oxygen tanks will allow, which it depends how calmly you're breathing, but for us it's around about 50 minutes. And despite being in the water for almost an hour in the middle of winter, we're actually surprised that we're not getting that cold. We've got really awesome gear, some super thick wetsuits, some underlayers as well with a hood, some socks for our feet as well. We are super toasty, but we're not really thinking about the temperature when we are surrounded by this amazing underwater landscape. As we've already mentioned, it's crazy the amount of species of fish that we're seeing here. And as I said also earlier, our guide tells us after we get out of the water exactly what we saw. But I can tell you guys, because we have a whole list here of the stuff that we saw. We saw a clown nudibranch, snapper, a kinner urchin, black spiny urchin, scorpionfish, blue maomao, black angelfish, red pigfish, red moki, stranger's wrasse, grey morel, which is an eel, and leather jacket, demoiselle, an elegant wrasse, and as you saw earlier, a New Zealand fur seal. How amazing is that? Just before we wrap up this amazing diving section of our tour, we just go a little bit deeper to check some of the darker sections of the archway. And this is where all the eels and things are hidden underneath rocks, and this is where it's really good to have a guide who can actually spot all these hidden creatures. It's hard to tell our facial expressions when we're underwater, but we are absolutely loving this experience. It is so amazing, and we finally come out to the surface after about 50 minutes, getting back onto the boat, and finally we can talk about all the amazing things that we saw, and also head off to our next destination on the Poor Knights Islands tour.
Wait. This tour is not finished just yet, and my favorite experience ever during these last 335 days on the road is about to happen this afternoon.
Even realize.
With Jenny Craig, I lost 10 kgs.
Jenny Craig works,
Jenny
people.
Craig works, people. Jenny Craig works. Thanks, Melby. You're the bomb.